Mindeye is coming out in less than 2 weeks, but I still don't believe that this is a real proper game. So turn the volume up and let's talk about it. Mindeye, for those that don't know, the internet's quite skeptical of this game, but it is built by Builder Rocket Boy, one of the developers from Rockstar that made GTA and Red Dead 2. Pivoted off and made his own studio. And these guys are making Mindeye. It's their first game into the fold. And there has been issues with this game for quite a while. To give you a rough timeline, everyone's been pretty skeptical of this game for a while just because there hasn't really been any marketing behind it. And the publisher is IO Interactive, which is quite interesting. Those are the guys that make Hitman. They've got the 007 game coming out. They kind of know how to market games. So it's a little bit interesting that the publisher and the studio really have not done any real marketing outside of leveraging, hey, the developer that now owns the studio is from GTA, and that's really the main thing that you've heard about the game. There was a leak of gameplay footage that had people somewhat excited. I use leak in air quotes, and that was a few months ago. Since then, they've done a little industry event that people could join via Zoom call, and they were showing them the game instead of streaming it. There was a lot of issues in that stream call, and I just don't understand why you would do it over Zoom. I didn't even like doing PowerPoint over Zoom, let alone showing people a video game. There were lots of bugs inside the demo. There was a lot of issues where they had to put themselves into God mode just to progress. There was bullets going through cover. There was a lot of things that in a shooter can't really happen. It looked like some of the story elements seemed quite fun, or at least entertaining, but outside of that, the gameplay just kind of looked like a bit of a solid mess. That led to a lot of people making videos of this should be delayed. There's huge issues with Mindseye. Since then, IGN and a few other places have sort of made a lot of videos, just saying like 15 things you should look out for Mindseye, or, Mindseye gameplay trailer, just things to hype it up, in the industry. Definitely paid for content, as you can tell. So I'm very skeptical of any of that I see. And so that brings us to today, where we're 2 weeks out from the game launch and no one has physically played this game yet, and it has me extremely worried. I also deep dove on the developer itself. They've had a huge amount of turnover, which does happen, and a lot of negative reviews online because of that turnover. And again, you got to take that all with a grain of salt. Some of those negative comments, people losing their job, are obviously going to be very emotional about some of the words that they use to describe a company. It's never going to mention anything good. You're just going to remember everything terrible that happened during your employment there, when, because again, it is an emotional time being let go. But there were two things that I noticed that was a constant repeat, and this is before Mindseye. A lot of these reviews come from 2024, before most people even knew what this game was. The main one was that there was no timeline for management. I've worked for a CEO that is very much like that. Like, they themselves work 12 plus hours a day. You wouldn't say that they're hardworking, but they're just not organized at all, and they don't put any pillars in place to be organized. They don't know how to offshoot things to staff, and so everything is just real chaotic, especially when a deadline is approaching. And then they kind of blame other people for that. My guess too is, by what I can see by some comments, is that nothing can get done without their approval, or if you do build something yourself that does work, they'll then go to it and pick it apart, and then say, no, it needs to be this thing, even though it's something that works, and it is fine. And again, I've worked for CEOs like that. It is very dysfunctional. It is extremely hard to do your job. So I'm thinking Leslie Benzies isn't the best runner of a business. I think it was Triple H from wrestling had a really good line that any idiot can run a business into the red. So just because they are a CEO or they've got their own development company, that doesn't mean very much. And just because you can develop, that doesn't mean you can run people. And it just seems very fragmented there, which is going to lead to a pretty shitty product. Like, whenever I've seen a business that runs on, there's no organization, there's no timeline management, no one knows how to communicate, the end product is always this rush job that's cobbled together. It's this Frankenstein monster, and that's what I think this game's going to be. It just points to it with the fact that no one's really played it, and that the development core is just this. It's so fragmented, and just people keep coming and going. They do the Thanos click that we used to get at my one of my old jobs as well, where someone's pass wouldn't work and then you would never speak of that person again. So I used to say it was the Thanos snap, just because they just disappeared off the face of the earth. It's pretty wild what's happening there. The gameplay trailers just look very much like the leaks. There's a lot of Michael Bay explosions, but it seems to avoid things like the city, any of the pseudo open world features that it might have, and it definitely references that there's not very much in between the missions. Another thing that has me pretty worried with this game, with the amount of hype that it's had, is it's now come out that the game's going to be like 12 to 15 hours of gameplay for the story, and with not really too much else to do, which is fine if it's a lower cost game, but this is $60 US. That was the premium price point, 2 years ago, so they haven't really passed that discount on, so I just don't think there's a lot here. So I just don't think we're getting a finished game. I just can't imagine that they're going to be able to fix it. But I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I love gaming. I'd rather just be wrong about these things and just have a really cool game, and might be only 15-20 hours. But hey, if I get a really good experience out of it, then it could be quite worth it. But I know that I have to review this game for this channel, and I have looming regret for that. I'm have to play this game, which is a real worry. And I will play most things and give it a whirl. I did the Precinct a few weeks ago. I kind of went into that I might be a bit underwhelmed, but I was kind of excited to play it, and that's usually what I'm like with games. This, I don't want to do it. I just get that feeling of I don't want to play this game. So playing 10 hours out of it is gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. So hopefully we can find some good things to it, but I just think it's going to be a glitchy, buggy mess that's going to be broken, and real fragmented in bits. It sounds like the story might be engaging, so at least maybe if you can get through the missions just to get the cutscenes, there might be something there, on the positive side of things. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see with this game, and there's a reason why a lot of people don't do these open world crime games. It's just because GTA's perfected it. So the standard is just really, it's expected when you go into this. The other thing I'd mention is just watching the gameplay. It just looks like an early tech demo for Watch Dogs 2, back on the last console generation. It just doesn't look like it's 2025 game. If this came out in 2018, I think. I just get those feelings with it, that there's just so much going on. And obviously, Cyberpunk was a nightmare when it launched, and there was a lot more resources and things that went behind that. So, that's much more open world than this, and I just really think this is going to be a disaster. But hopefully I'm wrong. What do you think in the comments down below? I would, obviously I'm reviewing it for the channel, so I'm going to buy it, but I think a lot of people should probably just look at the reviews and then make a decision of whether they want to buy that for themselves. I think a lot of people will probably wait too for things to get patched in and fixed. They keep mentioning they're going to add way more into the game down the road, so I think a lot of people would probably be safe in going, well, that's when I'll buy the game then, especially at a cheaper price point with more game there. It is a bit of a lull at the moment, but I think also it's coming out just after Summerfest, so there might be some shadow drops in that. So it looks like the runway is quite clear for this game, but things can change very quickly in that space. And there's a few other games that are coming out around that time, you got Firebreak, you got a couple of remasters like Space Marine and Space Marine 2 as the Siege mode. So there's some things coming out, and some obviously other PC games, but for console players there's a bit happening, so I just don't think this game's going to really hit the market, and we might not see much of this development team again, just because of this. So, but we'll see, we'll find out. If you did make it this far, hit the subscribe button, just because that's what everyone says on YouTube, and hit the like button because that does the algorithms, and I like the algorithms. I love algorithms. I did that class in year 12. I liked it. I didn't really. I passed, but so that's fine. But the algorithms, and you gotta go with the algorithms so they can algorithm. That's how I know that it works. Anyway, I'm gonna cut this up. I've got a meeting to go to after this, so I'll belt that through as well. Anyway. See you and bye.